Scientific theories, including relativity, are inevitably the result of us taking an exclusively explicit toolset to the nature of reality. The approach screens out, or renders invisible or inaccessible, a good deal of what's out there. It serves to limit the potential depth to our relationship with the real, for which there are consequences. The third-party observer approach to exploration takes the perceiver out of the measurement potential. The intuitive study of phenomenal fields suggests methodologies for making good the situation. Picture space and optical projection effectively serve to mislead us with respect to the nature of reality, and this is discussed at some length in the other vision space presentations listed at the end. We now need to start to explore the advantages of vision space over picture space and optical projection, and the associated implications. What does the field awareness bring to the party, and what does that tell us about the nature of reality? This is fundamental stuff, as it's light that brings us the data potentials realized within the phenomenon of vision. We are asserting that vision space represents a paradigm shift, a new form of illusionary space that will ultimately replace picture space and optical projection across our information display systems, ultimately requiring us to rethink our relationship to light. First off, we generate the field apparent in vision, into which the data from the world is referenced. However, the field structure component of perceptual structure is required by the data potentials inherent within the light array. The light input has calibrated this phenomenal field. We are probably genetically organized to facilitate this. We as the sentient being are located within this phenomenal field, and the field references spatial relationships between objects in the real setting as part of the data set itself. These references are an embodied potential to be realized by the sentient being. Our primary sense of spatial awareness would appear to come direct from the light array, and not the result of extensive cognitive and conceptual processing involving occlusion and perspective cues. That system, typified by the ventral stream, would be far too slow to account for our interactions with the world. If we control the setting out point within the field, whether it be ourselves forming the locus, or set out from a selected or intentioned fixation point established on an object within the scene, the system underpinning spatial awareness is the same. The radial function is always booted. It's just what's appearing in the field that changes and updates. Everything we see is inherently spatially implied with respect to us, and through the realization of this potential, our position in space is also implicit. Through the penetration of the data potential inherent in the light array, we become spatially connected to everything in the field of view. Through the light field and the selected loci we use to form phenomenal field, we hold something akin to a limited but absolute position in space. Motion of objects through this perceiver-generated field is not strictly relative. Intuitive observation suggests that the extent of the field awareness that provides us with critical proximity cues is likely to be limited to a diameter from fixation to a few hundred meters. So it's local in extent, but highly significant nonetheless. If fixation is made on an object, and that position in space is held as the object moves towards us, then the object becomes increasingly disordered as it moves through the field. Everything else in the scene remains fixed in terms of the field, i.e. the spatial texture indicated through the degree of disorder remains unchanged. We can, of course, keep fixation on the object and see the disorder levels change on us, together with those in the rest of the contextual environment. If we once again fixate on the object and we hold fixation at that point, as we are bodily moved towards it, we record our movement with respect to the fixation point, and in respect to all other contextual positions in the field. Alternatively, we can lose the fixation locus from the object in favour of ourselves, and appreciate the object moving to us through the field, and vice versa. Through the field function of phenomenal field, and the multitude of spatial awareness potentials available to us, we are able to achieve some sense of absolute locality and understand who is doing the moving. If we argue that relative motion still stands in outer space between astronauts, where there is no context in terms of other objects to feed into the system, just darkness, then this is simply a specialized situation designed to remove the relevant input to the system. It's not that the capability doesn't exist as a functioning reality utilizing capabilities inherent in light. If the presence of dark matter is being utilized and manifesting as dark light and dark noise, leading to disorder values within the visual system, then we are actually embedded in the universe, and we should be able to organize a legal fix. We won't be achieving this with current camera or telescope technology, of course, but it may be something that could be worked out through the extents of gravitational lensing. The dark matter medium in which we sit should be able to be used to overcome relative motion. And interestingly, the one situation that would confuse spatial awareness within the field system would be parallel movement, the parallel moving trains experience. Of course, other animals make use of field structures, magnetic or electrical, to establish spatial orientation. Sharks, rays, and bats use sonar, with the robin using quantum scale activity on the retina to link to the Earth's magnetic field. Vision space would suggest that we also achieve a commensurate facility, but through the physical properties of light. Could it be through decoherence that we embed ourselves in the environment? I'm fully aware that the implications of this function, being reliant on light, could not be more profound. We are all aware of the thought experiments associated with relativity and relative motion, and the use of inertial frames and frames of reference. Do these exist only to the explicit thought process, as it seeks to interrogate and define reality on its terms? They're not at all real to the implicit processes of being with the world. In fact, the construct of a frame, time, or space simply doesn't occur to this take on reality. Life here is lived in the present. Vision is diagnostic in character. Motion is understood in indivisible flow. Attention is operational with respect to all movement within the field of reference. Within phenomenal field, we achieve an holistic, largely subconscious form of attention, operating prior to the form of attention, operational within the explicit frame of reference. The challenge is going to be to get some handles on this field potential and its significance as a tool in scientific terms. It's going to be meaningless to take the explicit tool set to this unrelated task. There is no point in trying to get explicit if we are chasing a manifestation of the implicit. The assumed position of third-party observer simply doesn't exist for the implicit. This is a conceptual ontology involving the creation of the measurement device prior to the onset of the experience. And as we know, the measurement destroys the potential for its manifestation. The only system known to man that appears to be capable of experiencing this phenomenon is us. The realization of vision space requires operations to be conducted in the experiential realm, where you can't remove the observer from the observation being made. The perceiver becomes the receiver. The lead methodology has to be the experiential ontology. Vision is prior to science. It occurs to us, and not our instrumentation. We generate the field, and we use it in order to operate in our environment. We couldn't perform accordingly without this facility. For example, the field element of phenomenal field is likely to form the basis for multi-sense integration, spanning multiple ecologies. The way forward in terms of approach and development lies through intuitive record and the study of perceptual structure, typical and atypical, leading to the development of a commensurate programming architecture, replicating the functions of phenomenal field. Vision space suggests that our sense of vision operates beyond the confines of relativity, as representational of a full description of the nature of reality. This realization doesn't involve a challenge to the accuracy of measurements, just to what they actually mean. You can't take us, the perceiver, out of an active observation. It is meaningless to try without understanding the implicit issues in doing so. Third-party observation has a limited range with respect to probing and establishing the nature of reality. All our current instrumentation, and hence forms of information display and ICTs in general, lack this critical insight. A perceptual structure lacking the combination of these capabilities is rightly thought of as atypical and could be loosely related to autism spectrum disorders. The lack or malfunction of one processing system leaves the remaining system struggling to cope, trying to perform the task for which it is by design unsuited, if not incapable of performing. The resulting system is both compromised and overloaded, resulting in paralysis and inability to act or perform. Our existing communication systems are creating the virtual environments that both encourage neural redundancy in us, the perceiving organisms, and lead to overload and stagnation within the systems themselves. These two issues are more than related. They are manifestations of the same fundamental oversight. Without correction involving perceptually structured technologies, the longer we spend in and around these deficient systems, the deeper the spiral will inevitably drill. As many insightful individuals suggest, the issues are already impacting at a cultural level within our societies.